All right. Pretty exciting day for me in my life. I'm Rob Tatro from robtatro.com, portfolio manager here at Canaccord Genuity Wealth Management and at the Tatro Wealth Advisory Group. Brings me great joy. It's one of the greatest, coolest days of my life. I get to interview my all-time favorite golfer. Before I introduce him, Marcs, let's run a quick video. All right, there's our little disclaimer for you guys. I said it earlier, this guy is my absolute favorite golfer. I actually got to meet him a while back, and I've kind of been following his career a lot lately. Let's bring him in. 12-time professional winner, 5-time winner on the PGA Tour, winner this year of the FBR Farmers Open, none other than the 15th ranked golfer in the world, Marc Leishman. Leish, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, no worries, Rob. Good to be here.
You're not in Australia right now. You're in the US, I would imagine.
I'm in Virginia Beach, so yeah, Australia's on a pretty strict lockdown at the minute, so won't be heading back there anytime soon. But yeah, in Virginia Beach with the wife and kids, and lot happening, but trying to look at the positives and enjoying the time off.
Now, normally we'd be talking about the Masters that just finished last week. You'd be prepping for your next tour. We'd be discussing the comeback or whatever happened on Sunday. That must be dramatically different for you. How is your life now? How's the pandemic treating you and your family? And obviously you miss golf, but specifically the Masters week, tougher week or what?
Yeah, it was, especially with all the Masters stuff on TV too. ESPN which I normally watch a lot of sport, hockey. None of that's on. So yeah, missed the Masters for sure. But it's different. I mean, I haven't spent this much time at home and literally at home, like in the house, for probably ever. So spending a lot of time with the kids, a lot of time out in the yard. Played 9 holes this morning with my 2 boys, and yeah, just trying to stay safe, try and be as strict as I can and get this over with as soon as possible.
You played 9 at a course in Virginia Beach?
Yeah, Bayville. So it's about 40 minutes from a house. Really nice golf course, and yeah, drove up there with the boys. That first time they've been there actually. So yeah, went up there, played 9, and had some McDonald's on the lunch for lunch. With the boys had that for lunch on the way home, milkshakes and all that. So they had a great day.
Good for you. Hey, I'm a portfolio manager. I run an investment firm, and I manage portfolios. Do you follow the markets a lot? Is that something that you follow? Are you invested in any kind of side businesses?
I am. Yeah, I've got
Leishman
breweries. Yeah, Leishman Lager. So I got one in Australia, and then I'm part owner in one here as well. A few other little things going on, but apart from that, I sort of trust my portfolio manager. A couple of times a week I'll have a look to see if I'm gaining or losing for the day, but I try not to do that too much because it can get you down a little bit if you're looking at it on the bad days.
That's good advice.
No, I don't follow individual stocks. You might get a few things that you hear about that I will mention to my guy, and he'll say, yeah, it's good, or leave it alone. But apart from that, I just, let it do what it does.
Okay. Hey, I want to talk about the time we met. I want to kind of start with that. President's Cup, Liberty National, the day, I believe, of my dad's 65th birthday. We were out there. We toured the New York Stock Exchange. We had an event out there. We saw that it was the President's Cup. We showed up. Take me through the 9th hole, your recollection of the 9th hole when we met.
Yeah, so we were playing foursomes. It was me and Jay Stay. I can't remember what the match was, but he hit me over the back of the green for 2, which wasn't a great position. Really, really difficult chip. Heard this guy in the crowd say it's higher than you think, and saw he was in a Canadian onesie. I thought, he might be on our team. He's seen this shot today already. Gave it a bit extra. A little bit higher up the hill and hit a great chip. It went in. There was some running commentary during the shot from the same guy who happened to be you. So we obviously you ran out under the ropes and gave a big high five, and that was a really cool moment. That's my that wasn't a great President's Cup for the internationals. So that was my best memory of that week. It was a great shot, great reaction. Yeah, that was a fun couple of minutes.
Oh, it was an awesome time for me and my pals for sure. And I don't think you said that's not an easy chip. There must have been 15 feet of break, and it was really fast down the hill. And I don't think I mean, they were, I think, tight they had kind of a tap in bird kind of thing. So I think you were down 2 at the time. And I think that rallied you guys. You guys ended up having that match with, I think it was Phil and Kevin Keisner, I think it was. You guys have that match.
Yeah, it was too. Yeah, that's right. We halved them twice that week. Yeah.
Yeah, you played them back to back, if I recall.
Yep. That was
so that
was good. Yeah.
That's when we met anyway. So that kind of is part of the history of today. Hey, so that reaction and that fan interaction, obviously that could not happen at Augusta, but it does happen at the Ryder Cup, President's Cup, stuff like that. What's your take on that, getting the fans involved? And it's certainly a different atmosphere than most of the tournaments.
Yeah, it's very different. It's great when the crowd's on your side. It's difficult when obviously you're playing in New York and the crowd is not on your side. But yeah, that's what the President's Cup's about. It's a sporting event, not a golf event really. It's a sport crowd there. Golf crowds are very respectful, and sporting crowds are very passionate. And certainly they were very passionate there that week. And then in Melbourne, a few months ago, they were very passionate there too. So it was, I enjoy those weeks. It's great to be in the team environment. I haven't been on the right end of one yet. I've played 4 losing ones, but we're planning on changing that in Charlotte in a couple of years.
Yes, absolutely. For me, I've attended a ton of sporting events. I'm a big sports guy. I've been to World Series finals and NHL finals, and I've been to a ton of really neat sporting events. I think bang for your buck and entertainment and value can't beat a Ryder Cup or a President's Cup. You get like 8, especially on a day where you're playing 2 matches, you get like 8, 10, 12 hours of entertainment. You get to see your all-time favorite golfers from up close. You get to hear the conversations they're having with their caddies. To me, it's my favorite sporting event. I just love it.
Yeah,
it's something that you can't replicate.
Yeah, it is different. And it's good when, you've got people in the crowd that you feel like are on your team, as you were on the 9th hole there at Liberty National. So, it's great wanting your partner to make putts. He's wanting you to make putts, and the crowd wants you to make putts. So it's a fun atmosphere, and yeah, it's a good one. I haven't been to a whole lot of sporting events over here apart from sort of hockey, but I would love to go to a Stanley Cup game. I think that would be that
Mark,
I have a box.
I have a box at the Winnipeg Arena, the MTS Center in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. You're always welcome. And if we make the finals, Game 7 or something like that, that'll be the best atmosphere you've ever been to. We have the whiteouts. It's unbelievable hockey. I saw on your Instagram feed, I think you were having a hockey game with your kids or a couple of weeks ago or a month ago. They play, it looks like, or at least they like hitting the ball around.
Yeah, Harvey does, my oldest boy. Ollie, my little fella, is more interested in fighting. So he'll fit in. Might be the enforcer, but we do play a fair bit of hockey. It's just good to get moving and get him a bit competitive and get him out of the house when the weather's not great.
I want to talk about your foundation. You founded it with your wife Audrey, and it's called the Begin Again Foundation. Can you tell me a little bit about it and how it got started and what the goals are?
Yeah, so my wife got really sick with sepsis and acute respiratory distress syndrome. Actually, one of the things that if you get the COVID-19 ends up killing you. So she had that. So we help families who have gone through the same thing as Audrey did, with whether we give them grants, so they can use it for, whether it's to pay their rent or their electricity bill or whatever they need it for. So, and we fund the social work division at the local hospital. That's, something that wasn't funded and is very important. My wife actually wanted to be a social worker before she met me. So yeah, we try and do what we can to help. It's just nice to be in a position to just to help people that really need it. I mean, it's obviously it helps the family, but it makes you feel good too. So, and then also getting awareness out for sepsis, knowing the symptoms of that, because if you know the symptoms and you get it, you can survive it. if you don't know the symptoms and it goes too far, for every hour it goes undetected, you got your chance of dying goes up 8%. So 10 hours, yeah. So that's trying to get awareness out for that. So it kills, I think it's 250,000 Americans every year. So it's something that's 250,000. Just that's Americans. So worldwide, I don't know what it is, but it would be a silly number.
So we're running the website on the bottom of the screen here. Please, guys, go check it out. Make a donation. I'm going to personally make a donation, Marc, to the foundation. Maybe we'll do something like for every like or something like that. We'll donate some money. So I appreciate that, Marc.
Thank you. Yeah. No
hey,
worries.
the video that went viral, I'll call it viral. The video, I don't know if people have seen it, but I've seen it. It's the video of you cutting your lawn on the PGA Tour website. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. It's on the PGA Tour website. How real was that? And because here's the one part in the video, you tell the story of how you're always barefoot and you love being barefoot. You want to touch the ground. And anyone who knows me, I grew up in Labroquerie, Manitoba, extremely small town. We didn't wear shoes. I golfed barefoot all the time. Like, how real was that video? And if yes, like, we're the only two golfers on earth who prefer golfing barefoot, or what?
I got a bit too much foot action to golf barefoot, but I do cut the grass barefoot, which is probably a little dangerous. And I did say that to the tour people who did that. I'm like, this is not going to come across very well with me mowing grass with no shoes on. We're going to cop a bit of stick for this, but they're like, no, you'll be good. But it's it's true. And I just love it. It's good at burns a lot of calories. Mowing my yard, it's big. It's about 8,000 steps to do the whole lot.
And you manicure it like you would like a fairway, or parts of it like a green and parts of it like a fairway.
Yeah, so I was just out top dressing the greens actually. So it's good, good bit of manual labor. It's like I say, work up a bit of a sweat, earn your beer.
Do you drink beer?
A little bit of beer.
Me too, a little bit. When am I going to get Leishman Lager in Canada here? Yeah,
we're trying to get a distributor going where we can post beer. So I think we just need to get the right distributor. It is legal if you do it the right way, and we're working on that. So hoping to be sooner rather than later. If we can't find a distributor that's going to do it, we're going to start our own distributor.
I'll buy your first pallet. I want to talk about the announcement that came today from the PGA Tour. I'm sure you saw it. You probably knew it was coming already. So kind of the adjusted schedule and the new kind of announcements of the first 4 weeks of the tour will be without fans. What's your take on that? The first tournament, I believe, is now scheduled to be in June. What's your take on that? Will you be playing those tournaments? Have you booked your schedule yet?
I looked at that. I didn't read it, so I didn't know that there was no fans for the first 4 weeks until you just said then. I'll play, I believe, Colonials first. Is that right? Or is it Hilton Head?
I have.
Anyway, I'll play. Yeah, I think I'm going to play Colonial, Detroit.
So the first one is going to be in June 11th to 14th, the Charles Schwab Challenge and Colonial.
Yeah, I think I'll play that. I'll be ready to get out of the house by then.
No kidding. I think the 12 golfers will play that one, right?
Yeah, everyone will play that.
And then the Canadian Open's canceled. Then they're playing the RBC Heritage in mid-June at Harbour Town. And then the Travelers. And then the Rocket Mortgage Classic in Detroit.
Yep.
The John Deere, the Barbasol, then the Memorial. And then you kind of get into the real season in kind of July. I mean, there's a stretch here in like September, October, November for a golf fan. You got the US Open, you got the Ryder Cup, you got the Masters, the World Golf Championship, all happening within a month or two. They're kind of moving it, awesome. Obviously. It's going to be unreal. I mean, it sucks that it's not now, but
it'd be a good time to be playing well. So hopefully we can find some form and get some good golf happening around September, October, November.
Your game's doing okay right now. You just won in January at the Farmers Open.
Feeling good. It was a good start to the year. It's obviously would have liked to have kept playing with the form I was in, but look at the positives again. I'm a big one for that, and I'd much rather be playing well and have a spell than struggling, wanting to play more tournaments to find form and try and keep your card, or try and just get into that top 70 or whatever it might be. I'm in a good position. I'm feeling good and just trying to improve little things that I can while while I got the clubs away.
How was it to win on Australian Day? What did that mean to you? Or Australia Day, sorry, on January 26th, is it?
Yeah, January 26th. Yeah, it was awesome. An Australian, Lucas Herbert, actually won on the European Tour that morning. So I had a little bit of extra motivation to try and join him. And I'd finished second there twice before and had a few other top tens. So it was a place that I'd really wanted, or have played well at and really wanted to win at. So to get over the line and win that one was a huge thrill, and something I'll remember forever.
A couple Leishman lagers drank for sure back home. I believe it's a holiday, right? Back home?
Yeah, it's this holiday back in Australia. So we actually shouted. There's about 4 or 5 places that I regular at in Warrnambool, and we shouted, the bar for a couple of hours. We took a keg of Leishman lager there to each of them, and they had some free beer, so they were very happy.
Nice. Hey, I want to ask you about the rookie of the year. When you kind of came out on tour, you had I believe you got your card in 05, and you won in 2009. You won the rookie of the year. You're the first Australian to win rookie of the year, and that was voted on by your peers. First of all, how did that feel? And did you ever think you'd be kind of ranked 15th in the world at that time?
Yeah, that was pretty awesome. I was the first Australian to win it, and just nice firstly to be a rookie and keep your card was a big thing. I was my first few years on tour. That's all I was trying to do. Like, yes, I wanted to win tournaments, but I was just more interested in trying to make sure I had a job the following year. So, once I started doing that, then you could, not that I wasn't concentrating on winning, but then you can really, take a few more risks to win, because sometimes you have to do that. You might have a shot that may be a little reckless or risky, and you might be very uncomfortable, but you have to play that shot to have a chance to win. And, as a rookie, it's hard to do.
That would be the difference between kind of playing just to finish top 15 or 20 versus playing to win.
Yeah, exactly. It'd be the difference between, in your head, the difference between having $100 in your bank account and playing for 90, or having 100,000 in and playing for 90. Like, you're way more relaxed. So right. It's you can just not worry about them external factors and concentrate on the shot at hand more.
And then June 24th, 2012, that was in Cromwell, Connecticut. You were 6 strokes back. You shot, I think, 62 on Sunday to win your first PGA Tour event. What did that feel like?
Yeah, that was amazing. The start of the day, I was just hoping to have a good finish and try and sneak a top 10 or something, and sort of went nuts on the front 9. I think I was 6 under through 9 and kept going. So shot 62, waited around for, I think it was about 2.5 hours, and it was enough to get over the line. So that was a pretty cool day. I don't remember a whole lot about the actual round. I remember driving out of the golf course and driving down the interstate and just thinking, you've done it. So that was a little, pretty cool moment. That's probably the most memorable thing of the whole day, was the drive back to the hotel.
Yeah, that's crazy. You would have been like, holy, I got $1 million in my bank account now.
Exactly. And I'm exempt for 2 years. So
I'm going to play the Masters. I'm going to.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was a pretty good day.
And would that be, so I was going to actually ask you your kind of most memorable moment, in your golf career, aside from the Eagle chip on 9 at Liberty and high-fiving a Canadian. What would it be? What would be your top moment? Is that the one?
Top moments probably when I won the BMW in 2017. My family was there. I had a 5-shot lead or 4-shot lead playing the last, and I could really, really enjoy that. Remember, it was in Chicago, and Justin Rose was making a run at me. Managed to make some putts, and to see them on the side of the green and have them run out when I made the putt, that was just amazing. That's probably a standout.
Yeah, that's the scene that you always want to picture as yourself. You run out, and when I was young and I thought I would be a professional golfer, and in fairness, I thought I'd be a professional hockey player. I was convinced I was going to be an NHL hockey player. But I did play in the Manitoba Amateur a couple of years, and I always pictured myself running out and family of kids and my wife and giving the big hug and going off and signing my scorecard. Alas, for me, it never happened because I have a big slice. What should I do to correct my slice? What's the quickest? Is it just adjust the stance?
I'm still asking that question. I've got a slice too.
No, you got a power fade. That's what they call it, a power fade. I got a slice.
Yeah, you got to make sure all the basics are good. Make sure you're aligned at where you want to actually hit it, not way left and then swinging across it. It's like I don't know if you've played tennis, but if you cut it, it's like you're hitting a slice forehand. If you want to not cut it, you got to feel like you're playing a topspin forehand. You know, down the line to hook it in down the line. That's the way I try and describe it.
I just aim for the other fairway, and then I just kind of let it come back, and I drive 220 by going 280 in the air. I want to talk about the Masters real quick. You've come close. You finished fourth. I know. So I was there last year. I was there in 2019. I saw Tiger win. I was wearing my Canadian shorts, and I remember seeing you on 12 there. Everyone put in the water that day on 12. It was just a crazy day. You teed off at probably 7 a.m. or something like that.
Yeah, I think we were first off the first.
And they were doing split tees.
Split tees, yeah. So we might have been second off the first, but I remember I actually didn't hit it in the water on 12. I hit it to about 12 feet.
I know because I was right there and I was chanting.
Yeah,
I was chanting for you.
Yeah, but no, that's a really cool tournament. I got some great memories there. I played the first 2 rounds there with Tiger in 2018. Played in the last round with Adam Scott the year he won. So yeah, I got some great memories there, and it's such a cool spot. It's going to be really cool there actually in November. It'll be
I'm jacked.
Different, but great.
And will you win a Masters?
I hope so. Yeah, I feel like I'm. It sets up pretty good for me. I know I do hit a fade, but around the green, your iron play has got to be really good, and chipping putting has got to be very good. And I feel like those 3 things are the strength of my game, and there's no reason why not.
What do you serve at the Masters dinner if and when you win?
Oh, I'd probably do lamb, I reckon. Some sort of rack of
something
lamb.
Australian.
Yeah, Australian lamb with some good wine.
All right, I want to ask you I'm going to try to do some rapid fire here for asking you some questions. So the first question I want to ask you, the RBC Canadian Open just got canceled. I don't think you've ever played it. Am I wrong on that? I don't recall you ever.
No, you're right. No. I haven't played. Yeah.
So what's the deal, Marc? Like, what do you have against us Canadians? We got to get you out here to Canada. Next year, can I get you to commit at some point in the future to playing the RBC Canadian Open?
I'll play the Canadian Open one year, definitely.
All right.
It's normally the week after the British Open, I think.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah.
But a lot of the good guys are playing it now. Like Jason Day plays it, and all the RBC guys play it. There's a lot of good guys that play it. So you heard it here, folks. He's going to he's committing to playing the Canadian Open.
Yeah.
We'll kind of hold you to that a little bit. I want to ask you a couple more questions. So in La Vérendrye Golf, where I play in La Broquerie, Manitoba, there's a hole that's 751 yards. It's the world longest par 6 from the tips. Do you think you reach that in 2 if there's a bit of wind from the north?
750. What's that? 400?
Flat.
No chance.
No chance.
Absolutely no chance. No.
Okay, we do have strong wind. It's the prairies, and the wind hits hard.
Yeah.
So no chance.
Need to be some. They'd need to turn the sprinklers off for a couple of months beforehand.
Okay. Who's the funniest golfer on tour?
Funniest golfer. I think Harold Varner is a pretty funny guy. Yeah, I'll get along with him very well. Yeah.
Who's the most likely to play hungover?
Oh, hungover.
Aside from Marc Leishman.
Yeah, I don't know. Let me think.
Or does that not happen anymore?
Who likes a beer? Yeah, no, it really doesn't anymore. It's
professional athletes, right?
Yeah, there's too much on the line. So, yeah, I mean, I know a few guys like a beer, but yeah, don't know about hungover.
Who's the one who's most likely to try a craziest shot, like the least likely, like the deep hook around a tree or something like that?
Yeah, probably Phil. Yeah,
Phil.
I would say Mickelson. Yeah.
Who's the fastest golfer on tour? Like plays the quickest?
Matt Jones.
Matt Jones. Okay.
Aussie, yeah.
Your favorite course that you've ever played?
One course, if I had to pick one for the rest of my life, it'd probably St Andrews.
Wow. And that's where
Yeah,
you almost won there. I think, right?
yeah.
In
I
2015 playoff?
lost in a playoff there. Yeah.
You
Yep.
got a bad break on that drive. It landed on
Yeah,
a
hit it
divot,
straight
if I
into a
recall.
divot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Correct.
And that cost you a
Yeah.
bogey. That was
Yeah.
bad breaks. Bad
Yeah, it was
breaks.
unlucky. Yeah, but it happens.
How about most consecutive balls you've ever put in the water on the same hole, on the same shot?
Probably three.
Like tin cup style. Just drop
I'd
another,
say.
drop three.
Oh, probably chunked three. Probably chip shots off of, or pitch shots over a lake, and yeah, probably at Augusta. I think I did it at I did it on 15 there 2 years ago. I think maybe last year.
How many balls does a guy like you carry in his bag on a
I
Sunday?
carry 12. I got a
12.
phobia of running out of balls. So
I carry
if
12 for the front nine for me.
12, yeah. If I ever put 12 in a row in, I'm walking straight to the clubhouse and cracking a Leishman lager.
Have you ever thrown a club?
Yes, yeah, I have.
Have you ever broken a club?
Yes, only a couple, but yeah, I have.
Hole in ones. How many do you have one?
11, yeah.
And how many on
Only
tour?
one in Mexico. Yeah.
I asked about your proudest moment. Longest clearance you've ever done, like to clear water, and tried it, like in a turn, like 260, 280, 230.
I remember in a US Open qualifier, I had a 310. There was like
to clear.
Yeah, there was like a creek. It was like a might have been 10-yard wide creek. And I
Jeez.
give it a go. Cleared it, so I was lucky.
Most emotional moment?
It was downhill. Most emotional. Oh, geez. On a golf course, probably.
I thought maybe the time Audrey caddied for you, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, probably when I won Bay Hill. I reckon I hadn't won for 4 or 5 years, and they were there as well. So that was pretty good.
Who's got the biggest temper on tour?
Biggest temper. I saw Matt Every do a real good club throw once. It was pretty impressive.
And who's the most likely to use a foot wedge?
Well, we all know that one. We all know that one.
It's fantastic. Hey, I got to let you go. I want to respect your time, Leish. Thank you so much. We'll do this again. I'm going to make a donation to a charity. I'll let you go to your media.
Thank you.
Viewers, I will stay with you for a sec. So we'll say bye to Marc here. Enjoy the rest of your day. Win the Masters.
Yeah, you too. No worries. We'll do. See you, mate.
Marc Leishman. That was just awesome for me. So I had a whole bunch of other questions. I didn't get to it. By the way, I believe he was referring to Patrick Reed, for those of you who don't know, but I could be wrong. I have no idea. He has not come to Canada, but you heard it here. He did commit to playing the RBC Open at some point in the future. I will do a quick recap of the numbers here, folks. Today is Thursday, April 16th. The Dow finished down a little bit, about 33 points. The S&P finished up 16. It was a choppy session. The tech stocks were kind of led higher, quite a bit higher. There's now debate on the Trump side as to whether or not when we'll be reopening business. Prime Minister Trudeau today announced some lax measures on the CERB benefits. So a little bit less, you can make $1,000 and still qualify for the benefits. There's talk as well about contractual workers as well. The market has been relatively muted this week, although it's been volatile. So we had a day on Monday. So what are we today? Thursday. So yesterday was down quite a bit. Tuesday was up quite a bit. Monday was down quite a bit. We continue to believe, folks, that we are in the about early stages-ish of this recovery, this still being the relief rally. Continue to believe that there will be likely periods of difficulty and periods of instability and periods of terrible earnings and periods where we might see a ton of volatility in the market. If you'd like to know how that would impact your portfolio, please, if you're a client, please give me a call or go to www.speaktorob.com. If you're not a client and you'd like to book a no obligation consultation, www.speaktorob.com. Pretty excited about my guests for next week. On Monday, we're bringing in the owner. I've heard a lot of people tell me in my calls to clients that mental health and physical health is a big issue right now. So as a result of that, we'll be doing a focus on health and wealth. We've done this 2 years in a row. I'm bringing in the owner of North Star Fitness and the president, founder of North Star Fitness and CrossFit Winnipeg, Tanya Tetro-Verga. She's phenomenal. She's owns a podcast. She's founder of the businesses, the podcast. She runs an exclusive. She runs a program where you can actually work out from home right now during COVID. I want to ask her about that. I want to ask her how to stay sharp mentally. We're going to ask her any and all questions with respect to that. We're also going to talk more markets next week. We're lining up an expert on Thursday that will be able to take more questions directly focused on markets. I do want to ask you guys, if you have an idea for a guest, please report to me. I'd love to hear, who you think would be a great guest on our show. Also would like to remind you guys that we are live here every week, Monday at 3 p.m., Thursday at 3 p.m. Central, that is 4 p.m. Eastern. Please subscribe to our channel if you haven't done so yet. YouTube.com/C/Rob Tetro, the Rob Tetro YouTube channel. Our website is robtetro.com. Please subscribe or like our Facebook page as well. I was thrilled today. I did get it right, the link. Perfect. There's the website on the bottom. That story with Marc Leishman is still my greatest sports memory ever. And I was at Game 5 of the Raptors when they almost beat. I was at Game 7 in Nashville when the Jets beat Nashville in Nashville. That was a phenomenal sports experience. I saw Tiger Woods win the Masters last year on Sunday, but my moment with Leish is definitely the highlight of my sports career. I've been following him sports watching career. For those of you who care, I'm obviously a sports buff. There's a comment here that is asking me to bring my father on the show. You bet, Walter. I will definitely make sure we get Cloade on the show. Cloade's got a ton of opinions. Walter's asking, could share short-term strategy. He and others share. I'm sure your dad is younger. He is younger. Yeah, my dad is dramatically younger, still young at heart. He's still working every day, by the way. We're all working remotely. So Cloade is a key part of our team. Senior strategist, continues to advise all aspects of portfolio management, continues to advise all aspects of due diligence with all the portfolio managers. And plus, I wasn't trading in 1987. I was not around. I wasn't building a portfolio. He was. He saw 23% in one day. He lived through the interest rates of the early 80s. He saw the oil crashes in the 70s. I consider myself incredibly lucky to have him on my team. Consider myself incredibly lucky that my clients have access to him. So for me, as long as he wants to continue to work, Cloade, I'll continue barely paying you to come in. I'm incredibly thankful that Cloade gives his time for our team. So yes, Walter, we will have Cloade on the show. Maybe him and I could just argue about stuff. We could just argue about, different sectors and different, I'm not sure, but regardless, we'll think of a format that's interesting, Walter. Maybe we'll do a rapid fire as well. And the guest that's on Monday happens to be related to me as well. She's my sister. She's an entrepreneur and she's president founder of North Star Fitness. It's going to be fantastic. I think, folks, if you're wondering about investments and if you're wondering about earnings, I'll leave you with a couple comments. First of all, earnings. We've had some early bank earnings that have come out here in the last couple of days. The bank earnings, the U.S. bank earnings, were largely disastrous, I would say. Dramatically underperformed expectations, and they just missed on all fronts. All the U.S. banks, Citi, J.P. Morgan, Morgan Stanley, Bank of America, they pretty much all missed their targets. As a result of that, we saw kind of some negative sentiment around earnings. But remember, guys, that's Q1, right? So Q2, we're not going to get Q2 until July, August is kind of when we're going to start seeing what I would call the real impact of having an economy shut down. So, that is going to come. Now, I don't know how bad it's going to be. I'm not going to pretend I know how bad it's going to be, but 90% of people are working from home. I saw a report today on BNN that said that 90% of people are working from home. That means, without, just anecdotally, that's less movement, less money being spent. There's a lot of people that were laid off. The job numbers came out today. 5.2 or 5.6 million people in the US applied for unemployment last week. That's in 1 week. So that brings the total over the last 4 weeks to 22 million people. 22 million people that filed for unemployment benefits in the US. In Canada, we don't have the exact data, but anecdotally, what I've heard is a couple million, maybe more than that, have already applied for benefits and are already receiving the CERB benefits. Now, there has been a ton of money pumped into this, like a ton of money pumped into the economy generally in two fashions. First of all, quantitative easing. In the US, they've been doing quantitative easing for a long time. They've been doing quantitative easing. They did it in 2008. They've done it before, but this was another kind of batch of quantitative easing. But for Canada to do quantitative easing, which they did, they announced that yesterday. So Stephen Poloz announced that they would be doing $50 billion of quantitative easing. So quantitative easing, for those of you who don't know, is the Bank of Canada going out and buying bonds, corporate bonds, government bonds, any type of treasury. Generally, it's corporate bonds, just to add liquidity to the market. So they want to add bids to the market so that there are people buying these securities. There are bids for these securities, and the trickle down effect to the further securities. If you get people selling the corporate bonds, it ends up being a lot better for the junk bonds, and it ends up being a lot better for the mortgage-backed securities and anything else. So that's the theory behind quantitative easing. It is happening in Canada for, I believe, the first time ever, or it's definitely at the pace that it is, the largest ever quantitative easing ever. So that's one way that they're stimulating the economy. The other is with pure stimulus measures, which are enacted by the government. So that would be funds that are sent either to businesses directly. We had the wage subsidy in Canada, 75% of your wage up to 75% of your wages. I believe there's a certain amount. And then we also had, if you have 30% or more losses in year over year revenue. And then we also have the CERB, which is a pure direct to consumer, direct to citizen benefit. The CERB is the EI equivalent, if you will, that we're all available to get right now if you're laid off or if you've lost your job. So there's the CERB, there's subsidies, and there's also tax reliefs that are likely coming and have been announced for corporations and for individuals. So the idea there is that you will take less dollars from corporations, or you're going to help them survive, and you're going to put dollars in Canadians' pockets, and in theory, they're going to continue to spend, and you're going to prop up the economy. So that's happening at a very, very large rate. I would almost call it, I read it online somewhere, a bazooka of stimulus and spending. I think that's the right word. It is a bazooka, something we've never seen. I had Martin Roberge on the show last week. He spoke about how this amount of spending, is, I think he used the percentage 10 or 12% of GDP. It's a lot. It's way, way, way more than it was in 2008. I mean, it's still not the level it was at the war, during the wars, World War I and World War II, but it is a significant spending component. So that's happening as well. So this entire, the reasoning behind this money is that we're pumping money into the economy. The economy is going to, survive for the next 3, 6, whatever months that is. And then in the meantime, on the backside of that, people start spending again, people go back, economies get open again, and then we are quote unquote back to normal. And I don't know if I like the word back to normal, because I think we would all agree that there are some things that are going to change in our lives, whether that's, just how we conduct businesses, how we conduct business meetings. I've had so much experience now using Zoom and using other things because we cannot meet people. I wonder if that'll change a little bit, how we conduct business, just how we spend, I think there's going to be some changes. And on the show on Monday, I had Michael Hainsworth, who was telling me about some of the futuristic technologies that he thinks are going to come into play. A really neat episode. If you haven't seen it, go to my YouTube channel to check it out. Also, guys, remember, so there's earnings that are going to be coming. There's the Canadian dollar as well. So we talked about the Canadian dollar. So the dollar today, I checked it, but I'll check it right now. It moved quite a bit in the last couple of weeks. So remember, it had gone down to 68 cents. we were at 71 earlier today. But that's a number that you'll also be following, because when we're running Martin Roberge talked about this at length, but when you're running both a fiscal deficit and a trade deficit, it becomes incredibly difficult for an economy's currency to be strong. So right now in Canada, there is a ton of downward pressure on our currency. Today, we're down 7 basis points to 70.78. So we're below 71. The view of Martin Roberge and our currency experts at Canaccord is that there's going to be continued downward pressure on the Canadian dollar on the loonie relative to the US dollar. The reason for that, there's likely to be less demand long-term for our major commodities and our major goods that we export, which is, a lot of commodities, a lot of oil and gas, and some services. But for most of those, there's going to be less that are being exported. As a result of that, less Canadian dollars being bought or sold, if you will, from our side, or bought from the other side. And when you have less buyers, more buyers, currency price goes up, less buyers, currency price goes down. So, that's kind of our mid to long-term view of the Canadian dollar. So not sure if you're sitting on US dollars or Canadian dollars, but anywhere kind of around 72. Again, talk to your investment advisor about this. This is not investment advice. I'm not giving you investment advice. I'm giving you our general take on the dollar, what we think will happen kind of medium to long term. Some stocks hit all-time highs recently. Amazon, Netflix are two specific ones that hit all-time highs. If you've heard me on this show or on BNN in the past, I've been a big believer of some of those companies. You've heard me on BNN talk about, I believe Amazon was my top pick a couple years ago on BNN, and I continue to believe that the tech sector is poised to be a disruptor in the world, given what's happening and given what will happen in the future. Keep an eye on that. Keep an eye on your allocation to that. If you have a portfolio that has nothing but Canadian assets, Canadian equities, or Canadian bonds, I ask you to consider talking to your advisor about potentially changing your asset allocation with respect to Canadian versus US equities. So specifically, most of the portfolios that we see in Canada, when they come over from a bank or whatever, or a competitor, they are incredibly overweight Canadian equities. And what we'd like to see is something more diversified. So talk to your advisor about this. If this is something that you don't have, if you see nothing but Canadian equity funds or Canadian dividend funds, ask your advisor, shouldn't you have more exposure to US securities? Shouldn't you have more exposure to global securities? Shouldn't you be more diversified? The Canadian GDP is about 1.6% of the global GDP, 1.6%, and yet we continue to see portfolios that have 80%, 70, 80, 90% exposure to Canadian assets. Something's in my throat. I was choking up because I was talking to Marc Leishman. All right, guys. So take a look at that. If you want to learn more about this, if you're not a client of ours, please go to www.speaktorob.com. We'd love to book a no obligation consultation. In the meantime, wow, my old roommates from Moncton. That's from a while back. Nick Manuel, Dave, Martin, JP Turbid. Those are guys from Blast from the Past. Good to see you guys. In the meantime, go to speaktorob.com. Please tune in our show Monday, 3 p.m. Central, 4 p.m. Eastern. We're going to do a health and wealth. We're going to do a special on health. And then we're going back to a market-themed episode the Thursday after this. Guys, I'm Rob Tatro from robtatro.com, portfolio manager here at Canaccord Genuity Wealth Management and the Tatro Wealth Advisory Group. Thank you for tuning in today. I had a blast interviewing Marc Leishman. We'll see you guys Monday. Have a great weekend.